Okay, Ron, here we're looking at position 2 in the takeaway here, where the club's parallel to the ground and everything's looking pretty good at this point. So let's move forward. And then here as we get to position 3, where the left arm's parallel to the ground. On the left here you can see your head start to move out of the box, a little bit too much lateral movement. This is where we talked about looking in a mirror, keeping your head against the edge of the mirror, making back swings where your head's not moving off the edge of the mirror. We call that kind of left tilting the spine more so that the head can stay more still. And over here on the right, things look pretty good. The shoulder's turning down, the club's on plane, the hips are turning, the knee flex is changing, so it looks really good here. And then here as we get to P4, the top of the swing, on the left here you can see your head's moved a little bit further out of the box. You know, the other thing that I notice here is it doesn't look like there's much wrist hinge here. You know, it could be because of the fact you're squeezing too tight. You know, it's hard to say, but definitely at P3 you should be at 90 degrees and maybe even a little bit more at this point. So I'd definitely like to see more wrist hinge at this point. Over on the right hand side, the arm looks pretty good in relationship to the shoulders, but the elbow looks like it's starting to lift up just a little bit too much. And then you can just see how high the club is up in the air, and that's another kind of indication that there might not be very much wrist hinge at this point. So I'd maybe try to work on making sure you're not squeezing very tight, getting a little more wrist hinge at this point. And then as we get to P5, where the arm returns to parallel to the ground, on the left here you look like you're in pretty good shape. You know, going back to the wrist hinge thing, it looks like it could probably be a little bit more here on the left. The hips are moving forward though. You know, things overall look pretty good. And then on the right you can see how the club's parallel to the original plane line, but it's still quite a bit above. And so when I look at this picture here, I think about you turning the upper body a little too much. And when I was watching that in slow motion, you could definitely see that the upper body was kind of turning. And that's always going to pull the hands a little bit more over the plane. So I would be thinking about, you know, making sure the arms are swinging a little bit more before the body turns as you're kind of pumping down into a position, we call it P6, where the shaft returns to parallel to the ground so that you're getting your hands back down to the swing plane. Like I said, it's not bad here because it is on the right plane, but I just think they could be dropping down more. The right arm could be straightening more. Obviously you're at P5 right here and not to P6, but it is too far over the plane on the right hand picture for what I think. So let's take a look at where it is at 6. And then here as you get the club to P6 where it returns to parallel to the ground, definitely on the left I think you could see the arms, the right arm especially, straightening out a little bit more. You can't really see the club head here, but as I was moving you into this position, it's starting to get a little bit released. But more than anything, I think the fourth and the first power accumulator are a little jammed up here. The left arm should be swinging off the chest a little bit more. The right arm should be straightening a little bit more. And the hand should be a little bit lower and more in front of the back leg, whereas right now they're behind the back leg. And then when you're looking at the picture on the right there, you can see your hands are above the plane. The club head's actually in a perfect position. It's hard to see there, but it's closer to the plane line, or as what I would say slightly behind the hands coming in, which is a really good position for it to be in. It's a little hard to see there, but as I was winding it down, I could really see that it was in good position. So, and then again over on the right, just that right arm could be straightening out a little bit more, getting the hands to drop down to the plane a little bit better. You know, we use a pump drill or whatever where you're just pumping it down, where the arms are swinging more, the right arm's straightening more, and everything's just getting back down to the plane. So you'd pump once, twice, and then hit the third one on the way down. So something we can talk about, or maybe I could record a little drill of me doing it so that you could see it as we go along. And then here as we get to P7 or impact, you can see the picture on the left. The hands are kind of in the middle of the body. The wrist is starting to get broken down there. You're losing the right arm flying wedge. You know, more than anything, the hands need to be further forward. The shaft needs to be leaning forward more, like the little chip shots we were hitting with the Pure Swing club, the one with the bar that connects to your left forearm. You know, you really got to hit a lot of those shots keeping that shaft leaning forward. As I played this down, you could really see that your arm and shaft were in alignment, probably about 1.5 feet behind the ball, which meant the radius of the arc was too wide then. And then as we look at the right, you can see the shaft's a little up above the plane line there. The hands are still coming in high. Most of the time, you know, as it comes in high like that, you're going to have to swing to the left more to keep it from hitting the hosel and hitting a shank. So definitely we got to work on getting the club from the top down to P6 and into impact a little bit better with the hands further forward. That would be another thing where you would make backswings to the top, come back to the ball without actually hitting the ball, with your hands more over your front leg, the shaft leaning a lot further forward, and the club being right behind the ball without hitting it. So, you know, overall it's really not too bad here, but it could be better. And like you said, you've kind of had that flippy wristed problem at impact for quite a while. So it's going to take, you know, it took you 50 plus years to get that flippy wrist. Hopefully it won't take you that long to fix it. But anyway, let's move forward. And here as you get into the first part of the follow through, you know, on the left here, your body looks like it's in a good position. It looks like there's a lot of roll of the club face. You can see that right arm really turned over on top of the left hand there. You know, when you look at the picture on the right too, you can kind of see the club face pointed straight up and down. That's a lot of closure on the face as well. I love on the right where the club shaft exits though. It exits around your body on the plane. That's you staying on the arc. I'd like to see that back foot stay down just a little bit longer on the right with not any space between the knees there. That knee's kicking in a little too much. Shoulders look good. Club exits nicely. A little bit of over rotation and closure of the face though. And then here we are in the finish, and the picture on the left, I just love it. The hips are pushed forward. The upper spine is what we call extension, where it's kind of bent backwards a little bit. Overall, it's a really good position. You can see your head's quite a bit out of the box at that point, though, and that would be you coming up out of your spine, or let's just call that inclination to the ground, which is the level that your head stays in relationship to the ground. So that's you coming up and standing up, being a little bit too vertical. You know, at this point in the swing, it's probably not too bad. I know that's a little harder to do too, based on flexibility. But the swing on the right looks really good, except for the foot is just kicked up. That back foot is a little bit raised too high. I'd like to see that a little bit more banked in or at an angle similar to the angle of the shaft on the ground. Not that that's a reference that I use, but just more banked in and lower for sure. But overall, not too bad. So I hope you enjoy this video, and we'll talk soon. So have a great day.